Well, hello, good afternoon, and we had have a very frank and open discussion at the council. It was not our preference to have an open meeting or open briefing because it's a matter that constitutes an internal domestic matter. But I just want to underline that my country, Ethiopia, is undergoing a significant transformation that indeed requires delicate and context-driven handling of complex domestic challenges. We are discussing about a country of 110 million people with over 80 nations and nationalities, ethnic groups. There's always a delicate balance. So we asked the council to be considerate of this political dynamics that, if not properly handled, will push us to the deep river and to the abyss of point of no return. So we also highlight in our meeting that the government Ethiopia has successfully conducted national election in which millions of Ethiopians voted for peace and stability. We're quite stunned and surprised that millions came out and casted their vote. The task of the next government, once formed, is to ensure lasting peace and stability throughout the country. As you heard, on June 28th, the government declared a unilateral ceasefire to create a conducive environment for humanitarian operation and pave the way for an inclusive dialogue of all Ethiopians. We also urge members of the Council to understand the magnitude of the challenge we face and also recognize the bold and difficult decision we took to cease the law enforcement operation. We remain ready and committed to work with all partners to scale up humanitarian assistance, ensure accountability for alleged crimes, and enable the people of Tigray to partake in the agricultural planting season. Go ahead, James.
Thank you, Ambassador. Thank you, Ambassador. Good to see you again. I'm afraid you're probably not going to like my question. You're a long-serving diplomat, very respected. You were on the Security Council just 3 years ago. Do you not feel uncomfortable representing a government that, with its Eritrean allies, has been accused of carrying out executions, massacres, rape, and hindering the delivery of humanitarian aid?
Well, James, I completely disagree with the way the question is constructed. Because my government responded to the attack perpetrated by the TPLF operators. In the middle of the night, over 600 officers were brutally murdered in their camps. Would there be any world government that would allow to let it go, such kind of atrocities? So that indeed started the whole conflict.
Along with the Eritreans?
As in any conflict, there are excesses. It's not only, in the engagement, of course, there were crimes committed by different armed groups. Those who are responsible for committing crimes of the government time and again as certain will be made responsible. There won't be any impunity whatsoever. So we are fully engaged. An investigation has to be taken. Yes, indeed, I have been serving here at the United Nations for many years. I have heard all the dooms and glooms of poor nations being brought here at the council and abashed for what they did and for what they didn't do or thought about it. But as a responsible nation state, as an older country in the world, I tell you, we have the full responsibility and accountability for whatever happened in Tigray.
Thank you, Mr. Ambassador. The Undersecretary General for Political Affairs, Rosemary DiCarlo, warned today of the possibility of more conflict in Western Tigray, which is still occupied by forces from neighboring Amhara, which were fighting alongside your army. What can you do to ensure that the Amhara forces return to Amhara and leave Western Tigray?
Well, the Amhara people believe that they are in their rightful ancestral land. These were forcibly incorporated in 1992 without any due process or any constitutional arrangement. I came from that part of the country, from my mother's side. A community that speaks fluent Amharic and fluent Tigrinya. I thought back then this would be a small chromosomes of the Ethiopian society that believes in diversity, that can speak many languages, and yet live peacefully together. So there is a process that is going on right now. There is no any intention to take over land, but the government has an institution that has been put in place. This is called Regional Border Commission. So it is going to be, the case will be submitted to that board, and then of course a decision will be made. That could be probably after the new government is in place.
So does that mean that the Ethiopian government supports the Amhara forces remaining in Western Tigray until that commission makes a decision?
Well, I think that is in fact a matter of fact.
Ambassador, it's Pamela Falk from CBS News. Are you at all horrified by the kinds of attacks that have taken place? You mentioned the Army barracks attack that began this crisis. That's military to military. We're talking about mass rape, we're talking about young boys being recruited, and we're talking about forced famine. What is your reaction to the crimes that have occurred?
Well, whoever committed a crime should be accountable. From the Ethiopian government side, from the rebels, and as I said earlier, there should not be impunity at all. Because we are taught to go away with the crimes anyone has committed in the past. That was the order that we have seen over the last 30 years during when TPLF was in power. So there's a determination and a commitment from the government that everybody has to be accountable. We have seen some horrendous crimes. I'm not going to here and just simply evade those questions, because there are so many unsolved griefs and closed mournings. For us, in order to heal, we have to come together and commit ourselves, and then through national dialogue, solve our national wounds.
Thank you, Ambassador. Michelle Nichols from Reuters. We heard from the UN today that the number of people in famine has risen now from 350,000 to 400,000. Could we get your response to that, given that the government disputed the previous figures of 350,000? And the US ambassador said that if there's a denial, she sort of insinuated that if some of these accusations that have been made about the destruction of the bridge, the looting of aid agencies, that is not a humanitarian ceasefire, it would be more of a siege. And if you could respond to that.
Well, that's honestly, that's unhelpful, because there's a commitment from the government, and particularly the leadership. They make that decision at the heavy political risks, because the determination was to save lives in Tigray and the vicinity of the Amhara state as well. So calling it, creating a siege is really is completely unacceptable, because it undercuts and undermines the efforts, particularly the peace-loving people have indeed worked for that for quite a number of months. So not recognizing that bold move kind of insinuates that we are not in the same chapter and the same line. So that's indeed, I heard it clear and loud, but through our bilateral engagement, you're going to explain that the purpose is not to make a siege. It is to save lives. The issue was that there wasn't any access. We said this has to be a series of law enforcement operation, believing that that will create an opportunity so that humanitarian assistance can easily flow unimpeded to the most needy people.
And does the Ethiopian government agree that some 400,000 people are currently suffering from famine?
Well, unless and otherwise we reach, there is an Ethiopian saying, maybe if a farmer miss one rainy season month, usually it's June, he or she will not recover through 7 consecutive Junes or rainy seasons. When they miss, it will be very difficult. So the decision was, we don't want our farmers to miss this month. If they do, there will be a lot of calamity will descend upon us. So the decision was, it's not about the numbers. I understand that the World Food Program, Save the Children, UNICEF, and a number of others have taken the responsibility and distributing even nutritious foods to the people on the ground. So we have to move fast, and our disaster coordination commission is right on the ground. But unfortunately, the TPLF people, it is reported that they have started even assassinating some of the aid workers whom they believe that they are working they have been working in close collaboration with the Ethiopian government or with the interim administration of Tigray. In the council, they were mentioning about electricity and also telecommunication lines. We are working hard to restore that, but we have to be very careful, because 30 electrical engineers and telecom engineers have been murdered by the TPLF in maintaining those power lines. So the situation is very complex. It's not only always bashing and shaming the government, but the TPLF, as irresponsible as they are, from day one, they have continued in attacking even people, on the field, trying to, day and night, to give services to our people. Thank you very much.
Just one last question.
I'll ask one question, because the council, it seems the council will discuss the dam issue with Egypt and Sudan. So are you still planning to start filling the dam this month? And what's your message to Sudan and Egypt on this issue? And where is diplomacy now? How can you describe the diplomatic track?
Yes, there is a AU, African Union-led process, still alive and working. Ethiopia puts, and including, of course, HAP, Egypt and Sudan, put our trust on that process. And we don't believe any transboundary resource should be seen at the Council. We don't think it's the purview of the Council and the mandate of the Council. It's completely from the mandate of the Council. So we stick to the AU-led process. We are committed to that. There are some technical and legal issues. It shouldn't be politicized, shouldn't be internationalized. I understand there are some countries who want to bring the issue to the Security Council, but this is not the way how to solve transboundary problems. If we're going to see this issue today, how many rivers, transboundary rivers, the world has? 250. So you guys are going to be very busy, asking questions about, transboundary resources as a source of conflict. That's completely unacceptable.
You will start filling it?
We can talk about that next week when the agenda will be tabled. What I can tell you is that we are closely working with the African Union. There are also observers that have been very much helpful over the years, and we put our trust and confidence in the in AU lead process. Thank you very much.
One last question on Tigray. Have all the Eritreans left?
The latest report I have is that Eritreans have left.
They've left. They've gone. They've gone home.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Thank you.